Hey, welcome to another Lang Gang Dev video. This one's going to be a short one. I just want to talk about this new IDE that I've started using called windsurf. So, windsurf, like Cursor, is a VS Code fork, and like Cursor, it has AI enhancements at a very deep level, which allows for a really good user experience with using AI. So why am I using it instead of Cursor? Well, Windsurf has the ability to not only suggest changes to your code, but to edit multiple files and then present you those changes sort of simultaneously. And it also can execute commands on your behalf. So, like, it can execute command line things like getting get diff to determine what changes are in your local. It can do commits for you. It can do all these things. So, I want to show a configuration. So, this is the mono repo. This is where all of the code, documents, images, templates, sort of the pitch deck, everything related to Langgang lives in the monorepo. And at the root of the monorepo is this file. Where is it? Dot windsurf rules. Now, dot windsurf rules uh, is sort of like a preamble that that gets automatically fed to windsurf prior to any prompt. So you can tell it some basic things about your project, and um, it will then know those things about your project every time you interact with it. And this is a dot file that is checked into version control. It's pushed up so everyone's sharing the same sort of windsurf rules. All the people on the Lang Gang dev team that use windsurf are going to benefit from this. So from the top down, I wrote it in Markdown. You don't have to use Markdown, but it's our standard document format, so it makes sense to write the rules in Markdown. And I tell it some basic things about the technologies that we're using, how the code is organized. In fact, I'm going to modify this and add on um, uh, marketing website code should be in the marketing directory. As you can see, it has the standard sort of like built-in, super AI-driven autocomplete. And my experience so far is that when it works, Windsurf's is much better than Cursor's. Now, there's that caveat when it works. Windsurf more often than Cursor gets into a situation where down here, where it says Windsurf settings, there's like a little spinner thing that shows that the autocomplete is reading stuff and indexing. Sometimes it'll just get stuck doing that, and the solution for that seems to be to close Windsurf and reopen it again. So coding style, we're saying we're using TypeScript for all front end code, Python for back end code, follow PEP8 for Python code, use Prettier for front end code formatting, etc. Testing, write unit tests for all new features, maintain test coverage above 80%, PyTest for back end, Jest for front end. This is actually a line that I'm going to get rid of because we don't actually have any front end tests written yet, and I don't know if we're going to use Jest, so I'm going to clear that out. Git workflow, we create feature branches from main. We use conventional commit messages. Commits are squashed before merging, and you always should assign yourself to PRs you create using GitHub PR create dash dash assignee dash me. Dependencies, use Yarn for front end package management. This you actually don't have to use Yarn in this case. We don't use pip tools either, and we do want to pin dependency versions. So I'm just going to take these and sort of remove them. Actually, we use UVs, so we'll say that for that. For the front end, you can use NPM, you can use Yarn, you can use other tools, so I'm just going to remove that line. Security, never commit secrets or API keys. Use environment variables for configuration and follow OWASP security guidelines. Absolutely, those are important. Coding style for Python. I'm not going to read this line by line because this is quite involved, but this is all of the things about Python that I think I want the coding style to be followed about it. Important from this is that we never use relative imports, never use a wildcard import, never wildcard imports, never remove imports that are used, never put more than one import symbol on a single line. Instead, put each import on a separate line. This reflects the behavior of isort for single line equals true. This is very important to me. We use 4 spaces for a tab, spaces instead of tabs for sure. Always use trailing commas like everywhere it's an option. Never have unnecessary blank lines. Use f-string interpolation unless the string is a constant, sort of all the modern Python the way that we'd like to be written. Now, this is sort of a command that I have written so that Cascade can help me do things automatically with sort of a shortcut. So when the user says, get this up to GitHub, then I want it to do these things. I want it to check the current branch, and if we're on the main branch, create a new feature branch with the format type / description of changes, like feature / blah blah blah, for example, and switch to the new branch, then add all the changes to the stage, get the diff of all the stage changes to review them. I'm going to actually reverse these steps. I think that we should stage the changes and see what changes there are before we go to check the current branch. I'll check the current branch if on the main branch, blah, 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 and then create the commit. Write a conventional commit message following the format type, brief description, and then a list of detailed change 1, detailed change 2, etc. Run git commit -m with the message, push the changes with the branch name, and create a PR, including a title, and we're also going to want it to have a description. And you can see it's the markdown linter is telling me that I have something that's over 80 characters, so let's go ahead and sort of indent this line as we've done with previous lines. Bam. Okay. Don't have trailing white space. And then do a GitHub PR view --web so that it'll open up the PR in my browser. Types for conventional commits: feat, a new feature; fix for bug fix; docs for documentation changes; style, refactor, test, and chore. So let's look at what's different. I've got 2 changes in 2 files. One is this windsurf rules changes that I just made, and the other is this lightning pitch deck public Tamver, which is Tamver no longer works with us, so removing his image from the repository because it's not necessary anymore. So I just restarted windsurf, that is to make sure that it picks up the latest changes that I have to windsurf rules. It's not really necessary, but it's sort of one of those like I feel like I should, but it should pick up the changes without me even doing that. So let's try it out. Let's say get this up to GitHub and see what it does. So it says, I'll help you get these changes up to GitHub following the specified workflow. First, it wants to add the files to stage. Cool. Now it's going to review the stage changes. It's going to see those changes that I made. It's going to determine what branch we're on. It sees that we're on main. So it wants to create a new feature branch. So I say, okay, docs/update workspace rules. That makes sense. And here's the commit message it came up with: docs, update workspace rules, add marketing directory to code organization, switch from pip tools to UV for Python dependency management, remove jest, update GitHub workflow steps, and removed an unused image. Yeah, that's fine. Good commit message. So let's execute that. Now it's going to push the changes up. Let's execute that. And now it's going to create a PR. So it's got the title and the description, and it's marking me as the assignee. So I'll accept that. And oops, it's supposed to be body. So I'm going to reject. And let's change this. So instead of saying description, it says body. And let's look. I'm just going to do this manually. I'm going to stage it. I'm going to do a commit amend. And I'm going to push the force so it overwrites that commit on the remote. Now I'm going to tell it resume this step of creating the PR. All right, with the corrected body flag. It's got that. Hit accept. It's running. Great. There's the URL. Now it wants to open it in the browser, and I'll say OK. And it opened it in the browser. So this is fantastic. You know, this really just speeds up and automates the workflow, and it's really cool to sort of build this sort of these shortcuts that you can tell it to do directly into like a file in your repository, just written out in English, you know, in Markdown. So I hope you enjoyed that. Windsurf's really cool. I'm giving it a big thumbs up at the moment. And as always, you know, Lang Gang.